Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. I hope you all are doing well. It is transfer deadline day and we have the first bit of news to bring to you bright and early this morning. It is currently 5 to 9 in the morning and Juventus have confirmed that Moise Kean has officially rejoined them. Moise Kean has left Everton and joined Juventus on a 2-year loan, with Juventus paying €3 million in the first season and €4 million for the second season. Juventus have an obligation to buy for €28 million plus €3 million in bonuses. Actually turns out to be not the worst deal in the world for Everton, to be perfectly honest with you. Again, I know there was a big sort of thing regarding the loan deal and it being a loan, and obviously Everton had a pretty sort of firm stance on Moise Kean when it comes to PSG being interested in signing him this summer, and how they weren't interested in sending him out on loan to PSG. And now obviously I understand that a lot of Evertonians will be thinking, well, what's going on? We've sent him on loan to Juventus. The Athletic actually have stated that they have announced the re-signing of striker Moise Kean on a 2-year loan worth £7 million. He scored 18 goals in 40 matches for PSG last season on loan. Obviously didn't have that great of a return for Everton Football Club. But yes, he has rejoined the Italian club as to which who Everton signed him from, obviously earlier on in his career a couple of years ago. And yeah, look, again, I think this is the transfer that we were all sort of expecting early this morning. Listen, for me, just on Moise Kean himself as a player, forgetting the deal itself, I don't want to say it's sad, because I'm not sitting here, in tears, and I'm not going to lose much sleep about it, but it is disappointing that Moise Kean never worked out at Everton. I remember when we first signed him, there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of excitement about him, there was this air that, he was, and to be fair, still is one of the, most naturally talented strikers in world football, and there was this feeling that, if this lad can settle down and hit the ground running, he could genuinely be one of the best young strikers in Europe. And unfortunately for Everton, and I suppose for Moise Kean as well, it just never worked out for him at Everton. He never did settle down, he never did sort of get his head down and I suppose achieve that potential that we had high hopes for him to achieve. And, look, that might be down to Moise himself, that might be down to his circumstance. Let's not forget, Moise Kean joined Everton at a very, very strange time, obviously signed under Marco Silva in Marco Silva's last season at Everton Football Club. Very firmly a Marcel Brands type of signing, if you want to call it that. Obviously, Marco Silva left the football club not that long after. Duncan Ferguson come in, he had the little situation under Duncan Ferguson against Manchester United where he come on as a substitute and then was taken off, of course, not much long later, so that didn't help him massively. Obviously then Carlo Ancelotti come in, and again at that point Dominic CalvertLewin was very firmly nailed his position down as Everton's number one striker, so Moise Kean wasn't really getting much of a look in. It was Dominic Calvert-Lewin, it was Richarlison playing up front, and then of course we had the global pandemic, which has to be spoken about. It has to be spoken about because we can't dismiss how difficult it must have been for Moise as a player to come into a new country, come into a new club where he's new to the country. He won't have had many friends, obviously many family over here. Of course he'll have had people living with that he'll have brought over from Italy, but he won't have had much of a social circle in Liverpool and in England, and he's been thrown in, and less than a year after joining the football club and living in a new country, we've been hit with a global pandemic, which has meant that, he's been unable to leave his house, he's been unable to go out and socialise and go back home to Italy, and he's probably been living without his mum, and, let's not forget, this is all happening to a 19, 20-year-old lad at the time. So I do sympathise slightly with Moise Kean, I do, because I think that it must have been really difficult for him at that time as a young player coming into a new football club to be hit with a global pandemic when you're in a different country. Must have been difficult. I put myself in those shoes. I'm a similar age to Moise Kean, and I can't even begin to imagine how I'd feel if I was playing or working in a different country, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere we were hit with a pandemic, and all of a sudden I couldn't come home, I couldn't see my family in person, I was stuck in my house in a new world, in a new environment, in a different country. It must have been really, really difficult for Moise Kean at that time. Now, again, I'm not sitting here excusing him not giving 110% or wanting to move out of Everton or any of that. I'm just saying that I empathise a little bit with him, because that must have been difficult. And then from that point on, obviously the global pandemic, he wasn't massively involved at the start of last season. He went out on loan to PSG, and that was when, for the first time since joining Everton, we actually started to see Moise Kean like his football, and almost seemed like he was liking where he was playing and liking the responsibility that he had. And you could sort of tell from his first couple of weeks at PSG that he was a different player as to what he was at Everton. He seemed more comfortable now, whether that was because he was more comfortable in Paris than he was in Liverpool. I don't know. Maybe that was part and parcel of the reason. A massive part of the reason was probably because he was more comfortable playing next to the likes of Kylian Mbappe and Neymar than he was playing next to, Fabian Delphin and Alex Iwobi. Again, no disrespect to... Listen, Alex Iwobi's been brilliant this season, actually, so maybe that is... you get what I'm saying. He was playing next to genuine world-class players at PSG, as opposed to playing next to, decent Premier League players at Everton. So, that probably had a big impact in why he was, seemingly a lot happier playing over in Paris than he was playing for Everton. But it was a really, really difficult time. And like I said, he had a really sort of up and down, topsy-turvy career at Everton Football Club. And I don't really... Again, I don't even put that down to Marcel Brands. I've seen a lot of people having a go at Marcel Brands because of the Moise Kean deal and saying, again, what about Marcel Brands? Moise Kean's a flop, he hasn't worked. But let's not forget, when Moise Kean come into Everton, he was coming in on the basis that he was going to be our number one striker. He was Dominic Calvert-Lewin. In the summer of 2019, when Moise Kean signed for Everton, wasn't the Dominic Calvert-Lewin of now. He simply wasn't. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was a player who there was still massive question marks about whether or not he was good enough to be Everton's number one striker, whether or not he was good enough to be the number 9 who led the line, and that rhymed actually, the number 9 who led the line. Get that in a song. There was massive questions. There was massive question marks around that, and Moise Kean was coming in to effectively to challenge Dominic Calvert-Lewin for that number 9, and I actually think Moise Kean was coming in to be the number 9 and for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to be a backup for Moise Kean. And what we've seen over the last 18 months to 2 years is Dominic Calvert-Lewin go massively that way, and Moise Kean just sort of, again, I don't know whether I'd say stagnant, but certainly not reach the levels that Dom has. It's almost like Dom has sort of woken up a little bit and gone, hang on, the club have brought in genuinely one of the best, most brightest young strikers in European, if not world football here. If I don't really step myself up, if I don't improve my game, if I don't start showing that I'm good enough to start week in, week out for Everton, I ain't going to be anywhere near the first team, and then ultimately, won't be getting anywhere near as much game time as I want. So Dom then sort of seemed to go away and really work hard and get his head down and battle for his place and improve on his goal scoring. And we saw, obviously, during lockdown, I was a massive admirer of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because every day you'd see him on social media doing sit-ups or on the bike or doing some form of exercise. And, whilst other players were probably maybe sitting at home playing the PlayStation, I'm not saying Moise Kean was doing this, by the way, but while other players were probably using the pandemic as a bit of time to rest and spend it with family, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was working on his body, working on getting himself bigger and better and improving on himself. And I just think Dom massively rose to the challenge of having a player like Moise Kean at the football club who was going to give him competition, and obviously Richarlison as well, who was giving him competition at that time, whereas Moise Kean almost, again, whether it's because he was playing in a different country and the pandemic and everything just sort of got on top of him, he didn't rise to that challenge. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin ended up going to another level, to the point where Marco Silva quickly decided that he was going to be the number 1, and obviously Duncan Ferguson ran with that as well, because Duncan worked very closely with Dom. And then obviously you had Carlo Ancelotti come in and quickly assess that Dominic Calvert-Lewin was in a much better position to be the number 9 as to what Moise Kean was. So it all just sort of fell on top of Moise Kean, I feel. And then obviously, like I said, he was coming off the bench with 5 or 10 minutes to go. He wasn't really starting games, wasn't really getting involved in games. He then went out on loan, done really well, and obviously come back at the end of last season, beginning of this season, and you almost sort of knew from effectively the day in which he come back that he didn't want to be here. He'd openly said at the end of last season that he hopes to be playing in Paris this season. He hopes to be playing in front of the Paris Saint-Germain fans. And I sat here last week and I said, I'm torn with the Moise Kean situation, because I don't know whether it's a case of Moise Kean just desperately wanting to move back to PSG, or whether it's a case of Moise Kean just not wanting to be at Everton. And it was sort of, it was that question, wasn't it, of whether he is just desperate to move to PSG, and if he doesn't get the move to PSG, he's happy to stay at Everton, get his head down and work hard, or is he just desperate to get out of Everton? And it obviously, seemingly and evidently, it was that he was just desperate to get out of Everton and wanted to leave Everton. And obviously he's rejoined Juventus, like I said, on a 2-year loan with an obligation to buy. Not the greatest deal for Everton, but a much better deal than certainly some that were touted throughout the course of the last couple of weeks and months or so. There was, again, PSG were very sort of loud and clear in the fact that they only wanted a loan deal with no obligation to buy, as they had last season, which would have been an absolute ridiculous deal for Everton. And it obviously is quite clear that PSG or Juventus and no other side were willing to pay directly up front for Moise Kean and bring him in on a permanent deal. We know that obviously the Italian league has got financial troubles. Obviously Juventus have allowed Cristiano Ronaldo to leave. That's been officially announced this morning as well. So again, maybe Everton were just sort of focusing at that point on allowing Moise Kean to leave and maybe having those conversations with Moise Kean as to say, listen, we're going to let you leave, we're going to let you move on, and we're going to try and find the best deal for all parties. Because let's be honest, I don't really think Moise Kean wanted to be here, and there's not a point. There's no point in having a player here when he doesn't want to be here, especially when you've got an offer on the table. And yes, it's, ideally we'd have had the permanent deal, done and dusted now. But I actually don't think the deal is that bad. To be honest with you, I don't think it's that bad. Is it massively? Is it great for Everton? I wouldn't say it's great, but it's a lot better than what a lot of the rumours were over the last couple of days or so. If you're just joining us, by the way, the news is that Moise Kean has officially left Everton to rejoin Juventus on a 2-year loan, with Juventus paying £3 million in his first season and €3 million in his first season and €4 million in the second season. Juventus have an obligation to buy for €28 million plus €3 million in bonuses. Now, of course, there was rumours over the last couple of days about that. That obligation to buy being under certain circumstances, which is a bit baffling for me because I'm not too sure why, what certain circumstances mean. Surely if you've got an obligation to buy, it means you're obliged to buy the player at the end of the loan, not only obliged if certain things are met. I don't really get it. But Juventus' official statement reads that Juventus Football Club announces that an agreement with Everton Football Club for the temporary acquisition until the 30th of June 2023 of the registration rights of the player Moise Kean has been finalised for the consideration of €7 million, of which €3 million for sporting reasons for the first season and €4 million in the second season. The agreement entitles the obligation for Juventus to definitely acquire the player's registration rights, subject to the achievement of certain given sporting objectives by the end of the 2022-2023 season. The agreed consideration for the definite acquisition is €20 million payable in 3 years. Furthermore, a maximum of €3 million of cumulative bonuses are envisaged upon achievement of further sporting performance objectives. So effectively, the deal states that he's gone on loan, as I've said, for a loan fee for both seasons, and the obligation to buy is if Moise Kean achieves certain sporting objectives, which obviously we don't know of. Maybe it's a certain amount of games, maybe it's a certain amount of goals, maybe it's a certain amount of titles won at Juventus. We don't know that yet. But I think it's safe to say this is the last time we'll see Moise Kean in an Everton shirt, or the last time we'll see Moise Kean affiliated with Everton Football Club. It mightn't be, because he mightn't achieve those certain sporting objectives, and he might be back at Everton in 2023 and we're having this same conversation again. But I would, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet that this is the last time we see Moise Kean in an Everton shirt. And like I said, best of luck to Moise Kean. I hold nothing against him. Yes, it would have been nice to have seen him get his head down and maybe work a little bit harder and maybe battle with Dominic CalvertLewin a little bit more for that number 9 shirt. He hasn't really given a lot of competition to Dom, has he, to be honest with you. But you could argue that without Moise Kean coming into Everton Football Club, Dominic Calvert-Lewin wouldn't have pushed himself to the levels that he pushed himself, and we wouldn't have the Dominic Calvert-Lewin that we've got today. You could argue that. And like I said, I hold no bad blood against Moise Kean. I don't. I think the deal is a good deal for Everton. I think it was the best deal we could have possibly got. If the obligation to buy is hit, then we will sell him for €28 million with €3 million in bonuses, which is a fantastic deal for Everton Football Club. And like I said, it just didn't work out for Moise Kean and Everton, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for players. That the be all and end all is sometimes we sit here and we say, it just didn't work out for this player. As much as we wanted it to work out, as much potential as he has, as much of a pivotal member of the squad he could have been, it just didn't work out for him. And like I said, I feel that Moise Kean had made this decision to want to leave Everton Football Club a long time ago, and that decision was never ever going to be reversed. He was never ever going to go against that, and unfortunately for Moise, he didn't get his move to PSG that he wanted to, but he's got his move back to his club, the club that Everton signed him from 2-3 years ago, whenever it was. And again, obviously he goes in replacement of Cristiano Ronaldo, and let's see if he can hit the heights that Cristiano Ronaldo has hit at Juventus over the last couple of years. So it'll be interesting to see how Moise Kean develops at Juventus, but I'm sure he's much happier now than he was at Everton. And yeah, like I said, best of luck to him in the future. No bad blood. It is disappointing. And again, I don't hold nothing against Marcel Brands for the Moise Kean deal, because I think Moise Kean could have easily gone the other way. He could have been absolutely amazing and hit 18 goals for Everton like he did for PSG, and we could be sitting here saying what a signing he was. He could be loving it at Everton. He could be loving playing here, but it hasn't. And I don't think the global pandemic has helped that whatsoever. But ultimately, he's wanted out of Everton, and now he's got his move. So there you go. Let us know your thoughts on the Moise Kean deal in the comment section down below. Let's quickly get into some of the live comments before we finish up. Rob says, let's hope we have a plan to spend the money today. Well, yeah, I suppose the best news about the Moise Kean situation is that it's been announced that 9 o'clock, 10 to 9 in the morning. So Everton have now got the whole day. I'm not too sure how FFP works with the deal, whether we can spend the 28 million, because we haven't officially got the 28 million and there's no guarantee that we're going to get that. Whether we can only spend the 7 million and that we're going to get over the 2 years in loan bonuses, I'm not too sure. But it's safe to say Everton are in a better financial situation now than they were 35 minutes ago before the deal was announced. So let's hope we see more movement today than what we were originally going to see. We can't spend the money yet, says Jonathan. Shay says, morning Cam, hope you're good. Let's hope the Blues step up and get some deals done today. I'm good, mate. Hope you're doing well yourself. Stephen says, Carlo let Kean down first season. He should have played he should have played last 7 games. Well, he played the last game of the season against Bournemouth and was very, very good when he scored in that game. And he was very good at the end of the first season, but we never really seen him an awful lot, did we? Dan says, Brands is a wizard getting all that money for Kean. Honest prediction for today, Cam, I'm going for Rondon and Barkley. I'm going for Rondon and Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Lewis says, wouldn't take Barkley back for what he did to us any transfer fee when he left. Danboy says, to be honest, Lewis, Koeman ruined Barkley. If we could get Martinez, Barkley back, I'd take him on the cheap. I think he's too injury prone, and I don't think he's grown up. Ruined himself, turning him into Rodwell. Joseph says, West Ham have signed Vlasic. Interesting. York Blue says, we need to get rid of Rodriguez, get rid of unpassionate bad eggs that don't care about Everton. Well, look, if James stays, then James needs to be used, doesn't he, effectively? He is expected to stay. So James says, Toffee TV reported James is expected to stay. According to Spanish press, he is expected to stay. So that is interesting. What a strange turn of events. Vlasic to West Ham for 4.5 million. 4.5 million? Is that how cheap it is? I thought it was a lot more than that. Lewis says James is a must go. Yes, he has bags of ability, but we don't have a strong enough squad to carry a passenger with no work rate. Daniel says we need a winger and a right back. Kev says no right back now, no backup striker. Well, I think we will have a backup striker before the end of the day. Just that we get a sell-on clause. Bye Egg says any news on a right back? Any sign of a right back? Well, at the moment, the only rumours are about Ainsley Maitland-Niles, aren't they? And obviously Nathan Patterson of Rangers, but they seem to have died down massively. Let's wait and see. Andy says morning, mate. Morning. Stephen says morning, Cam. Holly says good riddance. We don't need this attitude in the squad. Yeah, there you go. Anyway, look, we're gonna finish this one up there. Then just thought we'd do a quick stream regarding Moise Kean, and we are going to do another stream in a moment regarding general sort of transfer news and rumours regarding Everton as well. So if you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Massive thanks to everybody in the live comments. Like I said, join us in about 10 or 15 minutes and we'll be doing another live stream generally talking about Everton's business. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this one, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button if you're new. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we are trying to hit 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it would be absolutely fantastic. If you're watching the YouTube video, let us know your thoughts on the Moise Kean deal. Do you think it's a good deal for Everton? Are you sad to see him go? Or do you just think, yeah, we wanted to leave, it's done now let's go on and look at some, players we can bring into the club. Massive thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Like I said, we'll be back shortly So stay tuned, stay subscribed, and we will see you soon on the Mighty Blues.